basically is basically the heaviest sound you're going to get because of that 26.5 inch scale length. So I love the 8 string. Just it took about a year to get used to playing it because of the width of the neck and the scale length and stuff like that. And it's more the scale length that throws you off than the width of the neck, I find. Although when you're used to playing 6 strings your whole life, your hands muscle memory tends to grab for chord shapes that you're used to on a 6 string. So it sounds really funny when you do it on a 8 string because you really go out of tune because you're not even playing the same chord. But it's cool because now I'm getting different sounds from the classic 60s rock sound, as you'd call it, to more modern metal sounds, right? So this is going to change my guitar collection. But again, okay, well, have this and just go buy a cheap whiz bang guitar. Well, I did that as well, which is what I call my Gig Supreme, the Jackson JS32 Flying V. So if I got a bar where it's okay, kind of questionable, or gigging in the winter, I would never gig with these guitars in the winter. Why? Because I don't want to ruin them. You want to ruin a guitar, gig in the winter. If you want to ruin a guitar, make it your live guitar. So, I'm not saying never play these prestige guitars live. Obviously, play them live, but if you're going to play 4 nights a week, maybe change up the guitar each night if you can, or buy a guitar that you don't mind sacrificing because you will ruin it. Just the stage lights, the humidity in the room, all that stuff, it'll ruin your guitars, regardless of what you pay for them. So my guitar collection has now gotten extravagant in the sense that I don't buy beginner level guitars anymore because it's a waste of money for me to do that. When I see a guy that has like 15 or 20, really inexpensive guitars that are okay, they might be cool or whatever. But, I tell you something. I've played these two guitars now. I've had this guitar, since 2006, 18 years. This is the third longest guitar I've owned, okay? And I'll probably take this one to the grave with me. I'll be buried with that one for sure, because that's my favorite guitar ever, right? And this one I've had for, 3 years less. So 15 years I've had that guitar. My Epiphone Les Paul, I played it for 13 years. My Hammer Diablo, 95 to 2003, so I guess I only had it for about 8 years, but that one, the neck was warped on it. Otherwise, I'd still have it to this day. I do miss it. Because it was such a cool guitar. And it was a guitar that from a utilitarian point of view, it did everything I needed it to do. It still to this day was one of my best playing guitars. This right now is the number one playing guitar that I've ever owned. And it plays itself because of the shorter scale length, the Gibson scale length. The action is just so fine on this. The fretwork is flawless. This is a phenomenal playing guitar. This guitar would be just as good, but like I say, there's a little bit of a bow in the neck. So the other guitars, they're excellent as well, but they're just not quite at this level. But that said, different sounds, right? So I try not to buy a guitar unless it's going to give me something different. So I'm not buying the guitars as a fetish, so to speak. So a lot of guitar collectors buy, basically, it's kind of a bit of a fetish because it's like, oh, I'm going to own this guitar because I really want it. But, like buying like 10 Stratocasters or buying 10 SGs would be cool, but, whatever. But are they, each one going to give you something different? Where when I pick each one of these guitars up, okay, the two Flying V's kind of play the same. The two Holcomb guitars play similar. These two play similar, but they are the 8 strings on another planet. Well, I'd say the 7 string and the 8 string are closer together than like those two are probably closer together. For if you only had to pick one, you could live with either one. The same thing. This one, which whenever you like the aesthetically, like for a gigging guitar, I'd probably go with the standard because it's built a little bit heavier. But overall, I'd go with that. So again, buying the guitars from a utilitarian point of view of recording, playing live, or actually looking for different sounds is a different thing. So yes, there's more guitars I want, but the more guitars you buy, the more you realize how this if let's say I only owned the Mark Holcomb guitar and that's the only guitar I owned, need not want. You know what I mean? Like that guitar, the stuff that the music that that guitar pulls out of me is you know, same like this guitar. I write a lot with this guitar and that guitar. Right now I'm obsessing with the 7 string a lot. I just really really love it. And to me, that's where the enjoyment comes in. Is the you know, like my shred guitar in the background there, that Rhodes V. That thing is like, okay, I'm going to try my sweep picking on it today. And I play almost all these guitars on a daily basis, even if I only pick them up for a minute or two at a time. And I rotate them pretty much every day. So these guitars get used. So, you know, like they don't really get dust on them. So to have a guitar collection that you don't use versus a guitar collection that you do use, I think that's where, you know, the point the other guy was making was like, the reason why he went with collecting guitars was because it was cheaper than collecting supercars. It was well within his budget. He says he's a millionaire, not a, you know, like he's a million, you know, he's got a few $1,000,000. So he goes, it was easy to achieve, and his collection went up in value, right? But he still plays and stuff like that. But if you're a musician that, okay, well, it's not about collecting, it's about playing the gig on Friday night or whatever, that changes your view of the type of guitar you're gonna play. You get the, like, a metal guys like me, we love these flat thin necks, right? But I can tell you, flat thin necks usually don't hold up well live for very long periods of time. So I'm starting to change my philosophy on that. Like, for example, the PRS neck is a little bit thicker than it's about similar to this one. It's like playing an old 50 style Les Paul. Like, I mean, that the neck on that is like it's a 2x4, right? So it might not be the most comfortable thing, but you know it's never going to warp on you. My old Epiphone Les Paul, I mean, that thing was rock solid. It rarely went out of tune. You know, like it was so heavy built though. But it was a 13-pound guitar, you know, and the neck, you know, followed suit. So how you pick a live guitar versus how you pick a studio guitar, how you pick a, you know, just an overall guitar, you know, it's going to be different for everybody. But at the end of the day, if you're not using it and you're buying it as a collector, I don't know if I'd want to hang on to stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I'll never sell any of my guitars, but I'm buying guitars that I normally wouldn't sell now because it's just like, you know, it's like, yeah, but if I get rid of that, you know, what replaces it? You know what I mean? It has to be something pretty, like that Jackson Flying V in the background there, like the SG, is kind of set the bar so high. You know, like that Jackson Flying V in the background for metal is, I'm convinced now it's the best sounding guitar. The Duncan SH6 distortions, I like them better than the JBs. Hands down, that's the best sounding guitar I've ever owned for modern sounds. For vintage sounds, well, it's either going to be this one or this one, you know. So the point of the video is that, you know, like, if you're going to get into like getting a lot of guitars, be really mindful about the grandiose of it. Be really mindful about what is the goal of your guitar collection. If you're going to buy guitars just for the sake of having numbers, you're probably not going to enjoy them that much. You know what I mean? Like, when I bought this, okay, you know, but when I got this, it kind of showed me that, you know, you don't play your cheaper guitars anymore. You know, you don't play, like my JS32 gets the most neglect. Why would I pick that thing up over these things? You know what I mean? So it has to offer something, you know, a reason to pick the guitar up over this. Like, there has to be a reason why I picked this one up on the Monday and I picked that one up on the Friday, or vice versa, or whatever. You know, there's got to be something that they're going to give you to make it justifiable to have them all. Otherwise, just stick with one really good one, you know what I mean? Or two, maybe. 3 guitars is kind of like the magic number for electric guitars, where if you're playing a really important show, you can bring all 3 of them out. And, you know, like, I remember one night I brought out like 5 guitars. That was dumb. I played 2 of them and that was it. And I only played 2 of them because I broke a string. I'm one of those guys, but now that I'm into alternate tunings, I might end up like Mark Holcomb, like having to bring out like 10 guitars per show because you're in 10 different tunings, right? So I'm very careful about how I write my songs too. It's like, okay, well, do an album in one tuning, do an album in another tuning, and do a third album in another tuning, and then at least you only have to bring out 3 guitars, right? But then you need a backup for each tuning, so now you're talking 6 guitars. See how it can get out of control really quick. But you're in standard tuning, 3 guitars. You have your workhorse guitars. Maybe you have your dive bar gigging guitar, and then you have your prestige guitar that you keep at home, and then maybe you have whatever. But that said, I made a video about this before. Don't rush to buy guitars. Instead, and I'm not talking about the people that are beginners, but if you are a beginner, let's say you just got your beginner guitar, whatever, rather than going to the intermediate guitar, just hold off on it. Save up for the dream guitar, but go and try a lot of guitars. Go into the music store and try everything on the wall, because I can guarantee you when you pick this one up, that one up, or that one up, there's going to be things that tone aside, never, but playability wise, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to really love the SG. Like almost everybody that hates an SG has never played one. And most of the time it's usually they're just not into the vintage sound, right? But usually, like when they play it, it's like Billy Gibson says, like somebody asked him, well, why do you like Gibson's scale over the Fender scale? He goes, well, why work harder than I have to? And he's right. Like, you want to learn sweep picking, do it on the short scale, man. It's so easy. Like I'm learning sweep picking on my 7-string, which is a 26.5-inch scale. This is only 24 3/4. So much easier to do, right?